Estonia accuses Russia of brazen violation of its airspace. In a serious diplomatic escalation, Estonia has accused Russia of improperly entering its airspace, in what Tallinn calls a brazen violation. NATO aircraft were scrambled for interception. What happened? On September 19, 2025, 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets allegedly intruded into Estonian airspace near Vainlo Island in the Gulf of Finland. The incursion lasted about 12 minutes. Estonia claims the jets had no flight plan, their transponders were off, and they did not communicate with civilian air traffic control. The air policing mission under NATO, with Italian F-35s based at Mari in Estonia, intercepted the aircraft. Reactions and context. Estonia's foreign minister, Margus Tsahkna, condemned the move, saying Russia has now violated Estonian airspace 4 times this year. He described the latest violation as unprecedentedly brazen. Estonia's Prime Minister, Kristen Michal, requested NATO invoke Article 4 of the Alliance's treaty, which requires members to consult when the territory, political independence, or security of any member is threatened. EU officials responded strongly. Kaja Kallas, former Estonian PM, now EU official, called it an extremely dangerous provocation. Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, said Europe stands with Estonia and would respond with determination. Moscow denied the accusations, saying the flight was a routine transfer from Karelia to Kaliningrad, that the MiG-31s were over neutral waters, more than 3 kilometers from Estonian territory, and thus did not violate Estonian airspace. Broader implications. Tensions have been escalating along NATO's eastern flank. Just prior to this, Poland reported significant drone intrusions from Russia. Analysts see these incidents as either tests of NATO's readiness or deliberate provocations. Estonia summoned Russia's chargé d'affaires in protest. The EU's 27 member states are expected to consider further sanctions against Moscow. NATO's North Atlantic Council is set to meet soon to discuss the matter. Why it matters? This incident is significant because sovereignty and security, violations of a NATO member's airspace are serious, especially when aircraft are unannounced, uncooperative, and flying in proximity to inhabited territories. Escalation risk. With multiple such incidents in a short period, there is a risk of miscalculation. An aerial incident gone wrong could escalate rapidly. Alliance credibility. NATO's responses to repeated provocations are closely watched. Member states expect collective action or deterrence. Map and geography context. Vainlo Island. The recent violation is reported near Vainlo, a small Estonian island in the Gulf of Finland. Its location places it relatively close to the border with Russian airspace and Russian-controlled areas across the Gulf. Kaliningrad and Karelia. Russia's fighter jets were reported to be flying from Karelia, northwestern Russia, toward its exclave Kaliningrad, which is isolated from the main Russian landmass by other countries. This makes certain flight paths over or near the Gulf of Finland strategically sensitive, especially for NATO and Baltic states worrying about Russian military logistics and rapid deployment options. Neutral waters and transponder off onset. Russia claims the jet stayed over international/neutral waters and more than 3 kilometers from Vainlo. Estonia contests that the aircraft had no flight plans, no transponders, no radio contact, making precise location and intent harder to verify. Historical precedents and pattern. Looking at previous incidents and broader trends helps illustrate that this is not entirely new, though escalation in frequency or boldness is concerning. Repeated incursions in 2025. Estonia says this is the 4th time this year that Russian military aircraft have violated its airspace. Drone overflights/airspace violations in neighboring countries. Poland recently had an incident with more than 20 Russian drones crossing its airspace. Other NATO/EU states in the Baltics have frequently reported Russian military aircraft, with or without transponders, often unannounced, flying near or across borders. Use of provocative flight behavior. Turning off transponders, avoiding regular communications, flying near small islands or near borders are recurrent features in these incidents. These tactics complicate detection, verification, and response. Political and military signaling. These are often interpreted not only as tactical or navigational moves, but as demonstrations of capability, tests of response readiness, or attempts to provoke political reactions. Expert commentary and strategic implications. Here are views and analysis from experts/commentators and what they see as the implications. Testing NATO's readiness and resolve. Many analysts believe these incursions are deliberate probes, seeing how quickly NATO responds, whether diplomatic protests follow, whether there's escalation. The behavior may be part of a broader strategy to erode deterrence or force NATO to divert resources to its eastern flank. Information and narrative battles. Disputes over whether the jets violated airspace or were in international waters, whether they had flight plans or transponders, are not just technical but political. Control of the narrative matters in international diplomacy. Experts emphasize that Russia's denials, claiming neutral waters, scheduled flights, are typical in these incidents. Implications for NATO member states' security posture. Increase in air policing missions, scramble readiness, possibly forward deployment of more assets in the Baltics. Calls among Baltic states for more robust air defense, surveillance, possibly investment in radar, sensors, possibly even anti-aircraft systems or missile defenses. The invocation of Article 4 by Estonia, which means consultation among allies in face of perceived threat, underscores how seriously these states view even non-kinetic provocations. Risk of escalation and miscalculation. Even if incidents seem relatively minor, duration of minutes, near small islands, there is always risk, miscalculations, e.g. an aircraft being accidentally shot down, or intentional escalation. Experts warn that over time, tolerating repeated violations carries danger, either normalization, where small violations become frequent, or a sudden escalation. Domestic political/alliance pressure. Estonian leaders are under domestic pressure to show they are defending sovereignty and not being passive. Meanwhile, in NATO and EU, such incidents fuel calls for stronger collective defense, more spending, more political unity.